This conference will now be recorded.
I hereby call this regularly scheduled meeting of the King George County Service Authority Board of Directors to order. We will begin with the invocation, then the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Miller. If you're able to stand, please do so. Mr. Miller, do we have any amendments to the agenda?
The only thing I would point out is that it should say at the, under the adjournment, it should say March 26th or 22nd, excuse me, at 5:30 in the boardroom. Because that would be your joint meeting that you all agreed to have with the Board of Supervisors.
Right. Thank you.
I guess Mr. Parker could make that note at the end.
Okay. Duly noted. Okay, moving on to public comments. Do we have anybody in the audience who wishes to speak? Mr. Dines, do we have anybody online? No, Mr. Chair. Okay. Reports from the members of the board. Ms. Kupka.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank staff, in particular Stacy Crombie, and I see Patty Norris Barker is here this evening, for answering questions I had on Friday regarding customers' calls for service, flow of work orders, and documentation regarding same. I submitted a request for information to Mr. Miller, and the spreadsheet of maintenance requests dating back to 2015 was provided to me, as well as all members of the Board of Directors yesterday. And I also want to thank all of our staff as well. I see we have some other employees here with us this evening. So thank you for everything that all of you do to serve our customers. And I have an appointment I wish to make, if I may, Mr. Chair. I move to appoint Mr. Neil Richard as my Citizens Budget Advisory Committee member. Mr. Richard has previously served in this capacity in a past budget cycle.
Okay, and the name again, Neil?
Neil Richard.
R-I-C-H-A-R-D?
Correct.
Okay.
Second, or do we need to make a motion?
I move.
I make a motion that we accept Neil Richard as Ms. Kupka's representative for the budget committee.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Any discussion? Okay, I'll take a roll vote. Ms. Kupka?
Aye.
Ms. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Parker?
Aye.
And chair votes aye, and Ms. Cleveland is absent this evening. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Kupka. Ms. Bender?
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to give a short update. I'd encourage citizens to come out on March 22nd to our joint work session with the Board of Supervisors at 5:30 p.m. In preparation for this meeting, I will be revisiting the wastewater plants on Thursday with Mr. Parker. It should be interesting. A couple of them I haven't been to in a few years, so I want to take a status update and look at them. There has been much discussion out in the public. I mean, I'm not a lot on social media, but I've actually heard it out and about at the store. So I encourage everybody to come. This is a very complicated issue about the service authority and a possible, and I mentioned possible merger with as a county department. And I will tell you myself, I am continuing and will look at it further and thoroughly. And that is all my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bender. Mr. Parker?
Yes, just to reiterate what Ms. Bender said, we will be touring a couple of the plants in preparation for the meeting next week. I'm also working on gearing up what I would call a town hall with Mr. Granger for some of the constituents in Hop Yard, Presidential Lakes, and out in Oakland Park, just to see if we can get some feedback on directly from them prior to and after the combined meeting moving forward, just to get some feedback from the public.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. And for myself, I would just like to say to the staff, after reviewing the report you sent to Ms. Kupka, I was quite astonished at the variety of issues you folks handle, and I thank you for your due diligence and trying to correct whatever issues folks may have. So thank you. That's all I have. Moving on, consent agenda.
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as written.
Motion's been made and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Report from the county attorney, Ms. Lackey.
I don't have anything to report.
Thank you, ma'am. Any presentations or reports this evening? We have none. Any action items? They have none. Discussion items? Have none. Okay. Moving on, general manager's report, Mr. Miller.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I think that I'd like to just, first of all, just go ahead and ask some of my service authority employees to stand up. And John or Patty, if you can introduce the folks that are here. I know we have in the back behind, we have Patty Norris Barker, obviously with the Service Authority. She's the executive assistant. And we have John Eisenbeis, who was sitting next to her, who is our maintenance manager. And then we have Michael Whitman, who is our lead operator right now for wastewater. And he's running about all plants, I guess. But he originally was at Fairview Beach and Hop Yard, but he has been pulled into Dahlgren and Perkins and Oakland Park as well. So we thank Michael for that. There's a couple of new folks I know, and I know we have Daryl Minter. No, stay there. But Daryl Minter, who is our crew leader for the maintenance division. Daryl, raise your hand. We have Joe, who's with them as well. These other two gentlemen are new, and I haven't had a chance to meet you, but if you would go ahead and introduce them, Patty.
Dave Boucher, he's a wastewater operator at Dahlgren Wastewater Treatment Plant. And Jason Orr is a new hire, and you are at Dahlgren also. So we have some representation from Dahlgren, an overall representation, and maintenance with us tonight.
And let me just say this, and publicly, thank all of the wastewater employees for what they've been doing since we had the issues happen at Dahlgren. These guys have been working tremendous hours, and they've been working hand in glove with the folks from Imboden in trying to make things work and trying to make things get it back to the level of service that we expect and where things were before. And there are still obviously a lot of challenges, but these people have really dedicated their time. And I know Jason Orr, who is one of our new employees, was thrown probably right into things, but we probably is doing a very good job and expecting him to continue. Dave, you and Mike Whitman are doing a great job. The maintenance side of this, these guys are there. They're deeply involved in what's going on at the wastewater services, but they're also taking care of water. They also, the two guys in the back, Daryl and Joe, they get pulled off and they have to do meter reading. And they also handle the cutoffs that we have to do sometimes when people don't pay. But this is just a small part of our crew. We know that, we have our water side as well, and we have other wastewater employees. Stacy Crumby in the front office there, but everybody has, I know that it's easy to, kind of throw some arrows at people and say, oh, well, our wastewater services aren't in a good place, or our water services aren't in a good place. But these people get up every day Sometimes they don't go to bed, I'm sure, like other people would at normal times because they're out working, they're out in the cold, they're out in the heat. They're doing a great job for us. And I do think that they, it's very important to recognize what they're doing for us. And I'm proud to, serve in the capacity that I am when I know that there's a good team out there of folks. So we appreciate what you're doing. Thank you. So we have a couple things on there. The first thing is the financials. We sent that information to you earlier, and I know Ms. Cleveland's not here, and I know that she has, has been asking for this, and we have, we're in a much better position to provide this information to you. The treasurer's office is being able to reconcile the accounts and all the various revenue and expenditures for the county overall, which includes the service authority. And so we're able to provide this. And what I think I indicated in my memo to you all will be that you'll have this be something that we will provide at every first meeting of the month. And it'll be for the most recently closed and reconciled month. So like in this case, you're seeing January because that's the most recent. We'll have February, we'll have at the next meeting in April, which will be the 5th, and then so on and so on. But as you can see from the January information, if you're looking at it, roughly revenue is about 68% of what our amended budget of, the amended budget is anticipated at $7 million, a little over $7 million. We are about year to date, when you factor in all the, the revenue we've received on a monthly basis, we're about 68%, or roughly $4.8 million. You will note, I think very importantly for people that may get this, you see the fluctuations from month to month, and that's because our revenues are collected on a every 2-month basis. So that's why you would have a drop off, say from July to August, and then in September, and then picks up, so that's how it will show. Expenditures, about $3.5 million that we have expended so far. So basically at the end of January is about 46% of the budget. So that's about halfway through. So that makes, that gives you an idea of where things are. I'm happy to answer any questions about this, but we will provide this to you, and we're happy to give you that information.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question. Thank you. Mr. Miller, how is the services so far we've gotten from Emboden affect the budget?
So the expenditures, I think in February, you'll see a better picture of it, because their January expenditures were about 23,000, as opposed to what their monthly average is about 4,800, I think is what their contract calls for. That was just their regular services. Obviously it ramped up in January. February is going to be the one that is going to be the most significant. And right now that's, I believe, is around a 40,000 range. They are now going to kind of plateau their services until we can kind of figure out which direction we want to move as an organization. So I think it'll taper back down for March and April. And so February when you get your February report, you'll be able to note a difference there.
Thank you.
The other items on the report, wastewater services. Oh,
I'm sorry,
Mr.
Mr. Chairman.
Sorry.
May I? Yeah, I had a question too. So I actually have two things. The first is, so as a follow-up to Ms. Bender's question with regard to services that Emboden has rendered for us, can someone also run numbers as far as, so we're not having to pay right now Mr. Weekly's salary because you had a separate contract, right? So a comparison of that, and as well, we still don't have a wastewater manager. And I feel like the advertisement said 60, 50, high 50 to 70,000 or so. So when you bring that data back for Ms. Bender, can you also bring us a deeper dive into what the overall picture looks like? Because yes, of course, we do know that we are having to pay in Bowdoin, but they're doing work that those two, no offense, you're interim, but they're, you know, they're performing the licensed operator work that Mr. Weekly was doing for us. And they're also doing wastewater services for us too, because we still have that gap. So if we could see that, a bigger picture, a fuller picture.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the other thing is I just would like to move to enter this report into the record of the meeting, if there's a need for us to do that.
That's fine. Yes,
I'll
whatever
second
you
it.
choose.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Miller.
The other item on there, so wastewater services update, Dahlgren again, we have a week, well, it's actually about every 10-day meeting with DEQ and in Bowdoin, myself, Travis Cusenberry and Bryce Young, our new engineer. And we just go through all the things, give an update, give a status report. They direct us in terms of what they need to see. Dahlgren is obviously well back to where it needs to be. I've said in previous meetings the fact that, you know, we have continued, you know, we resumed hauling of sludge from all of our plants. As I indicated, we do that on a regular weekly basis. The fact that we're back to doing that and hauling it to Dahlgren is a great sign and is an indication of Dahlgren returning back to its where it needs to be. I think there's some outstanding things left. I do understand that they have the Virginia Department of Health has rescinded the shellfish ban. So that was just sent this afternoon. So that's back. I do believe they're still going to do the dye test. John, have you been informed about that? Right. They want to do a dye test to see where the outfall of Dahlgren is. It basically goes into one of the creeks. And so they have to be on site when they do that. And they'll be able to evaluate things from that standpoint. But essentially Dahlgren is back to where it needs to be. I think that it's a combination of obviously the hard work and all the effort of the folks, some of these folks that are here tonight, particularly Michael Whitman, who jumped in and started managing everything, as well as his staff and also the Bowdoin personnel and their crews. Perkins Corner continues to be one that we obviously are working on. You know, I'm happy to report there were no issues over the weekend, which is always the time when things happen, it seems. Ask John Eisenbeis about that, but nothing was happening over the weekend in terms of Perkins. We continue to operate it. It continues to be one of those situations where we want to make sure that the solid levels are down, and so there are, you know, things that the Bowdoin crews are doing along with our employees in terms of getting Perkins back, and we are working with DEQ on every step of the way with both plants, with all of our plants. I mean, any kind of a variation, and Michael Whitman, our lead operator, can tell you about this. Anytime there's a variation on anything that goes on any of those 5 plants, whether you've changed a process or you've deviated from your SOP, they have to be notified. And so I think that's very important for people to understand that this isn't something where these plants are operating without any kind of oversight or any kind of regulation. They're very much involved in things. The next item is the manager RFP. So what What we are doing is actually going to do an RFQ that we would then bring back to this board in terms of how we look at the future of the system. We are currently, obviously, within Bowdoin, we're currently under their kind of an expanded version of their existing contract. They obviously would like to see a longer term relationship. They'll have the opportunity, if you choose to go forward with a service of a contract manager, they'll have an opportunity to bid on that, just like any other company would have an opportunity to bid on that. But we know that that's an option at this point. It's just an option, and we wanted to be able to present it to you so that you can make those kind of decisions. Not saying that this is the final decision or anything like that, but it does need to be looked at as a possibility of having, a contractor come in. And we will work obviously with whatever direction you guys give us. In Bowdoin is also doing the what SOP, which is standard operating procedures. They are rewriting those for all of the plants, or working on that. Obviously, they started in on Dahlgren, and they're doing Perkins, and they're going to deal with Oakland Park, but they'll move eventually to all of them if we, need them to do that. That's important, because I think one of the things that I probably characterized in a previous discussion about Dahlgren is that the SOPs that were written for Dahlgren are actually much more stringent than what we were operating at. And it's not a reflection of the personnel. It's not a reflection of inabilities or competencies. It's just that how it got approved, I don't know, but it got approved several years ago, and it is a very tight, very stringent SOP, and every time there's some kind of a deviation, you have to report that. And so that's one of the things that we need to do, is to make it more realistic from an operator standpoint. It might have been written more from an engineer's standpoint that wasn't based on operations, and that's what we need to do. The other thing is under there is the tours of the wastewater and the other updates. So Ms. Bender and Mr. Parker have indicated they're going to do a tour on Thursday. They're going to meet with Bowdoin personnel. They're going to start at Perkins, and we'll see how far you guys get to go. But they're very excited about that. I offer it to anybody. I know Mr. Collins, Supervisor Collins, has indicated an interest from the standpoint of a supervisor, and so we'll get that coordinated. I believe Chairman Stonehill has also indicated an interest, and so I'll work with the Bowdoin personnel to have them come and do that.
Thank you. Any other?
Oh, I got a couple more. So,
Mr. Miller,
yes, sir.
before you move on the Dahlgren dye test, can we make sure we advertise that when we're doing it, and maybe even send out a King George alert, et cetera, so we don't get weird things about funny colored water, or that, that this is also, I don't know, sanctions the right word, but
Yes.
that the state's involved, and this is a normal thing that we're doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So we have a proposed meeting agenda. I will get out to you all for the joint work session with the Board of Supervisors. Obviously, as Ms. Bender indicated, and Mr. Parker, the main source of the conversation is going to be about the proposed merger. Again, this is kind of in keeping with the process that you all discussed, is that you want to have a joint meeting. And I think I would stress and emphasize as emphatically as Ms. Bender and Mr. Parker indicated, that this is a discussion. This is a debate, a presentation of information, a sharing of information. It's part of the decision-making process. there's no decisions that have been made. There's, from a staff standpoint, it's a proposal. And, obviously we'll, take whatever direction the board gives us and move in that direction. It does involve both boards. And so that's natural that we would do this joint meeting. So I will get you something out on that subject. Budget work sessions, we are looking at the mid-April timeframe. I believe you met on Thursdays last year, is what Ms. Hahn indicated to me, our finance director. Happy to meet any day. I believe that Mr. Richard was indicating Tuesdays, Thursdays works for him. I know that the Board of Supervisors meets Wednesdays. I don't know what Mr. Bush, who was appointed by Ms. Cleveland, what his time frame is, but I know that you have Wednesdays are out, I guess, because of the Board of Supervisors.
Mr. Chairman, may I? Yes, so he did indicate that Tuesdays and Thursdays are better for him. If we're continuing the Board of Supervisors budget work sessions through the months, which I would imagine we'll have to on Wednesdays. And I would just say, Ms. Bender and I have meetings on Mondays, at least the fourth Monday, and I have another board that meets on the third Monday of the month. So Monday is a pretty bad day for me. So I just ask my colleagues' indulgence with regard to scheduling Tuesdays or Thursdays, if that's possible.
Either day would work.
And I'm pretty open. You two have the busiest schedule, so we'll adjust accordingly as to what day is better.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Would you like to set it up for like that? So the 5th, so that it would be the 14th of April would maybe be, I was thinking maybe that week, the second week of April, when you could start.
We do 5:30.
We can do whatever time you want.
Can I, Mr. Chair? Since we can kind of think about it, but since we will have one more meeting.
We can finalize.
Yeah, because Ms. Cleveland isn't here, so why don't we wait and see what works for her too, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fine, a good suggestion, and but tentatively, let's mark our calendar for that, and we'll confirm it next meeting.
Okay. Last two items on there, Commonwealth budget updates. So as you may know, the both houses, the Senate and the House of Delegates, they adjourned, didn't pass a budget. So there's going to be a special session on the 27th. I don't know, obviously the final approval of anything that the Service Authority was going to get, can't come until they've officially adopted the budget. I don't know if there was any impact. I don't know if anybody has heard anything, if there's been any impact to the proposal to get us 16 million. So, for wastewater services. And so we'll keep an eye on things, and we'll let you know if there's anything we need to do about that. But obviously that's a huge shot in the arm if it comes about, and looks like it's still good news. It's just, we need to get them to do all the other parts of the budget approval. The last item on there is information sharing and notification of Board of Supervisors. So I know in particular, Supervisor Collins has expressed a desire to be notified of things that I share with you, and I do provide that information. Obviously my first obligation is to you as your interim general manager, and then as a courtesy, I provide information to all of the Board of Supervisors. I just want to make sure that is something that you want to continue, that if there's any information sharing of that, is going to require any confidentiality. Obviously, we do that through our attorney. you know, to make sure that, you know, it has some preservation of control. So I don't know if there's any other points I need to make on that. I just wanted to make you aware that I've had a request to provide that information that I provide to you, and something that I will continue to do. But, you know, I just think that you need to understand that I am sharing that with the Board of Supervisors. I'll answer any questions on any of these items.
Nope, no more questions from Mr. Miller. Thank you, sir. And to the staff, thank you. And to the new folks, welcome. And where are we at? Any general information items? Okay, move on. Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn to March 22nd, 2022 at 5:30 PM here in the boardroom.
Second.
Motion's been made in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Meeting is hereby adjourned to March 22nd, 2022 at 5:30 PM here in the boardroom.